Glory fans celebrate a clean sheet as Perth nab a point on the road. Auckland grab bragging rights in the Kiwi Derby, setting up a massive return fixture, and it's all systems go. Kind of, as Football Australia announced Champions League-style National Second Division. Welcome to the podcast with more babbling than a Donald Trump rally in Pennsylvania. This is the Far Post Perth podcast, powered by ID Athletic. Blayne Treadgold is my name. Joining me on this edition, Neil, Sherwin and James Renton. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Back on?
Yeah, what's been happening?
Well, for me, just exams, following the United coaching saga with a bit of intrigue and with a bit of excitement about Ruben Amorim getting appointed.
What's your thoughts?
I like him. I think he's got a personality unlike Ten Hag, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it should make getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning a little bit more. I'd be interested to see how he goes against Neil's mob. I think it's tomorrow night, possibly. Sporting versus City. That should be a good game, so hopefully he wins that one.
Neil, mixed week for you, mate.
Mixed week?
Oh, a little bit of a mixed week. Shelbourne
that's what it's all about.
In the League
this
of Ireland.
This is the League of Ireland podcast. I was up at 3 a.m. Friday into Saturday. It was like old school, not being able to watch the game and following it through text and group chats. But yeah, Shelbourne won the League of Ireland for the first time in 18 years. Damien Duff, the manager, got the job done on 5 minutes to go with a 1-0 win against Derry City. So the last time they won the league was the last game I was at before I moved here. And it was the night of my university graduation. I left my graduation to go watch Shells win the league that day.
There you go.
2006. And so it was great. So yeah, I got to a game last year. I'll get to a game next year when they're champions. Hopefully maybe get a little Champions League jolly away day in the qualifiers. But yeah, great to be back because, I'm not counting my chickens because the last time they won the league, they were demoted a few months later for financial irregularities. So
there you go.
So watch this space. But for now, league champions.
Give us a bit of, not many people would know too much intel or insight on the League of Ireland. I mean, I follow it a little bit on a few banter pages because some of the stuff that comes out is absolutely gold. But give us a bit of insight on the league, mate, and some of the goings on.
It's the real greatest league in the world. It very much so.
Is there a peak League of Ireland kind of
proper chicken
situation?
league and farmers league? Yeah, it's all sorts. Derelict stadiums, pissing against the wall. Very, very basic. It's fair to say from most of the stadiums, apart from Shamrock Rovers have a nice new one in Tala, but there's a real community love of clubs. Bohemians, for example, are fan owned. Shelbourne had
that'd be your biggest rivals, wouldn't they?
Yeah, there's a lot. Half the league is from Dublin, so Bows, Rovers, Pats, and Shells would be the four big traditional. You got your little university team, UCD. You got Bray Wanderers just in the outskirts, and then you get into Dundalk, who were dominant for the last few. They had a good run in Europe as well, but they've just been relegated, and they've got their own financial issues in a terrible stadium. Shelbourne fans got together and protested to save Talca Park, which is their home, and then you go right up to Derry. Cork City have had some difficult times recently, but they got promoted back to the Premier Division. There's two tiers. And yeah, it's a proper pro-rail league. So if a small country like Ireland can have a two-tier system, it'd be nice.
But mind you, it takes 2.5 hours to get from one side to the other, doesn't it?
Pretty much. But there's some good away days. Yeah, so nice. Damien Duff is the big story, though, this year, taking over 3 years ago, actually, pretty much to the day that they won the league. He took over, and it was a big name for the league. And he's done a fantastic job on they were paying, in Aussie terms, they're paying $25 to win the league.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a nice outside win, and it stopped Shamrock Rovers doing 5 in a row. So we take that as well.
With Glory's own,
Aaron McInnes. Yeah, exactly. He's still technically on loan there. But oh well. Sorry, Aaron.
Yeah, there you go. Boys, cracking show coming up. We've got some special guests who are going to join us. The lads from the Deenys are going to join us, and I'm sure plenty of Glory fans, particularly those on the terrace, will be getting around the Deenys and some of the music they're coming up with at the moment. So we'll chat a bit of what's going on with the Deenys, bit of music, bit of football, and they've just come back from a tour of Ireland and the UK. So a single launch coming up. We'll give you details on how you can get around the Deenys for the next few months and beyond. Let's start with a little bit of football, boys. Glory on the weekend. 0-0 with Central Coast. I can't remember any memorable moments of this match. Did anything stand out to you guys?
McBreen's rant during the VAR for Kungar's penalty
it was filthy.
It was good to hear his thoughts on the A-League Off-Air podcast where he really unloaded, and Ben Sigmund stuck up for Kungar with the defender's perspective. But that was probably the only real talking point, that handball, because in terms of actual quality from both sides going forward, it was pretty grim. I mean, if you want to take the XG, for example, 0.72 for the Mariners, Perth Glory 0.42. Our first shot on target came in the 91st minute, Nathaniel Blair's shot, which went straight at the goalkeeper. So,
I've got to admit, we had the group chat going on, and I thought, here we go, we're on here. We're on here. No.
Yeah, but it just was one of those games where I would take a clean sheet, but in the sense of, are we progressing anywhere forward, and is there something to build on? I don't really think we learned too much from that game.
Neil?
That was crap. A really depressing watch. It wasn't enjoyable. I take the result, take the clean sheet, and you can 100% put a positive spin on it compared to what we'd seen before, especially defensively. Maybe there's the makings of a defensive unit there with Barr and Kanga and a couple of fullbacks and Ollie Sale, and that's great. But going forward, there's just nothing. And it was mentioned on commentary a couple of times how isolated and disillusioned Adam Taggart looked. I made the comment as well that this number 10 position is a really, really big issue if you're playing 2-6s. We've talked about this in the previous week, so I won't go over it again, but it was Oyayama's turn to play in the 10 from the start, dragged the half-time. Again, it's just not working in that area, and I don't understand how they can have pretty much two players for most positions and have nobody as a really dominant, recognised number 10. And we still don't know where Caicedo is. Not available. I mean, come on, how many weeks does he need to at least get a place in the bench and play 15, 20 minutes? You know, there's guys in the bench not getting on. Surely he can take up a spot and maybe you chuck him in. I really don't know what's going on there with a visa player. So, but Oyayama as a 10 didn't work. We've seen the other players, Gomulka, Bulgaria tried there as well, didn't work. Yeah, it's terrible going forward, and I think Taggart is his body language showed that. Okay, he said he wants to stay and all of that, but
do we just play a flat 4-4-2? Is that where we're at now?
Or I'm going to go totally off the rails, and people might not like this.
Go on,
but I'd change system to a 3-4-3. The reason behind it is because if you think about it from a defensive perspective, or even when we have the ball. Lizalewski, when we have the ball, he slides in next to Kunga and Barr. Kunga and Barr have shown good signs already, and Lizalewski seems to be more comfortable in that position. And I think Taggart obviously has been isolated for basically all of the game so far. I think it would be more beneficial to have the likes of Faisal, and then if it's Quiet and Go, for example, who gets a go at right wing, I think he should be given a go, to be honest. And they get put in a little bit closer to Taggart. Then we can get a few more link-up plays going, and then we can get them closer to goal, because one of the big problems for me is that I think we're getting our wingers to try and take on too many people, and they're not receiving an optimal position so that they can create a chance or get a high-value shot away, because we're still not creating, in my opinion, enough high-value chances. And even still, with our wing-backs, I think both Hamzawi and Carluccio can do it. They're aggressive, they want to press, their numbers support that they are good winners of the ball. Get their starting position to be a little bit higher, stretch the pitch a bit more because it looked too narrow, and then we might actually be able to play through the thirds, because I saw a lot of fans say that when we have the ball, we don't really have a plan, or we can't seem to keep it for more than 5 passes. So I think if I'm David, I wouldn't be opposed to at least experimenting with the system in that sense, because as we've mentioned with the number 10, it's clearly not working. So
yeah, no, it's right there. It's gave it a pretty good summary there, Neil.
Yeah, but the other thing that stood out for me is how they backed off on the press quite a lot. It was way reduced in comparison to previous weeks, and maybe Grilic has just realised that the players are miles off being able to what he wants to do, what is his utopia is for his philosophy. You know, that 3 games into the season, they're clearly not able to do it. Maybe they can do it in patches. But you could see that they were quite happy to sit back towards the halfway line in a much better shape, much better structure. They were harder to play through, albeit a very limited Mariners team, it has to be said. I didn't think the Mariners were very good at all. struggled to break Glory down for most of the game. But, credit where it's due, the structure was definitely better. They looked more in their lines. There wasn't as big a gap between the defence and the midfield. All that stuff that we saw against MacArthur when they were running around like headless chickens for quite a lot of the game, that seemed to have disappeared. So, look, if you don't concede goals, you don't lose games, and maybe that's where they're starting, and then they'll hope to address the final third issues as the season goes on. But 1 goal scored in 3 games, 1 shot on target in this game, and it was Blair's shot in the 91st minute, I think it was. Yeah. It was crap, as I said. It wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable.
My question is, how much do we read into those defensive efforts? Because Mariners, I'm not sure if you guys know this, they have the worst conversion rate in the league at 3.7%. Glory aren't too much better. We're second last. So they're not a team that are overly prolific. So do we read much into the fact that we kept a clean sheet, or was it possibly more the fact of Mariners not converting their chances? Because again,
part column A, part column B, I think.
That's the thing, because McBreen spoke about it again on the A-League Off Air podcast, and that's a really good podcast. I like listening to it. But that chance of when the right wing back got in behind Lizolowski, the ball got floated to him, and then he cut it across goal. If that's Jason Cummings or even Adam Taggart, for example, I think that's a goal. So I think we're probably a little bit lucky, but of course the players deserve their credit for keeping their first clean sheet, ironically, for the first time since round 3 last season when we played the Central Coast Mariners at home.
There you go.
So
very good. Clean sheet, a point away. We move on. Other results, gents. 3-2, Sydney over Brisbane. That was on Friday night. Did you happen to catch any of it?
Yep. Most of it, yeah. I really enjoyed the last half an hour or so.
Yeah.
My man for the golden boot, Klamala, scored again. I think he's stepping up and looking pretty impressive. But yeah, I think it was a bit of a seesaw battle, and it was finished by a fantastic goal. Kucharski in the 90th minute. It was a brilliant finish. It would go worthy of winning any game. Just rifled it past the goalkeeper, and Sydney probably a little bit fortunate. I thought Brisbane were okay. Waddingham was very good, and he's probably carrying them a little bit, especially in that final third. He looks a real handful and a presence, and I don't think it'll be too long before he's snapped up by somebody else. Sydney have their own problems, though, given that they were missing 2 of their main attackers, and we did mention that last week, that the game would be a lot tighter without Joe Lolly and Douglas Costa, and that's how it played out. I mean, playing Courtney Perkins, who's a left back, as a left outside wing forward.
Where's the vision in that?
Was a bold move. And it was very, very strange when they had some attacking players like the likes of Segicic and Patrick Wood were on the bench. I mean, there may be a bit of square peg round hole, but they went with a defensive peg in a round hole, and it didn't really work for them at all. So they would be very happy to get out of there with a win. Good game.
Wellington 0, Auckland 2. This was a good bit of fun on a Saturday morning.
It was excellent, and I think Auckland have really taken up the pantomime villain role quite well. I think, they did take on that tag of being the party poopers really, really well. I thought it was maybe tactically a really interesting battle between Corica and Italiano. I still think Wellington are missing a clinical edge in front of goal, but Auckland, it's clear that they've got such an experienced team and such a well-constructed team that they find a way to get these results, and I'm sure that they would be in particular very delighted. But as for the Wellington, and in particular their goalkeeper, who had that complete brain fart for that goal, which Brimmer scored, some good signs from Wellington, but clearly there's some areas that they need to work on if they want to get into the top 6 this season.
Neil, Western Sydney 3, Adelaide
1
4.
point that has to be addressed. It's not in my good, bad, ugly. Maybe I'm stealing it for somebody, but the half shirt. Not having
that
it.
was a disgrace.
Not having it. Jason Derulo.
I was going to say, was it Jason Derulo?
Trendsetter from all those years ago. But no, that should not be a thing.
Even if it's just for a bit of fun with the Sky broadcaster?
No,
not happening.
Just never. Anyway, that's all. Otherwise, good fun overall the game though.
Western Sydney 3, Adelaide 4. I put something out and said, look, Western Sydney. A lot of people had Western Sydney to be up, top of the pops kind of areas, and I don't feel they're copping the heat that they probably deserve. If Perth's copping it as much as that Perth is.
They've conceded a higher XG than Perth Glory.
Exactly.
To put some perspective on it. And I watched the RBTV, their post-game podcast when they talked about this game, and they were pretty scathing of the defence. And for me, I felt there was some similarities between the way in which Wanderers defended this game and we defended last season, that times under Alan Stajic. And I rate Stajic, I think he's a very good coach, but I think if we're talking about a sample size of over the last 12 months, he's not really shown that regardless of the quality that he has, he can't really coach a compact and intense defensive structure. Because some of the defensive efforts for some of the Adelaide goals, whether it was Perea sliding in for the fourth goal, or the lack of attention from the Wanderers players for Pereira's first goal where he volleyed it, as much as a great goal, but where's the defensive application from the players? And it didn't make sense because the Wanderers Champions League squad got honoured by the fans pre-game, and you would have thought that'd be good motivation for the players. But they just didn't seem to turn up, at least until the final 20, 25 minutes.
Really like the look of Luka Ivanovic for Adelaide. I think he's going to be a good player.
Lots of potential.
As he gets on a little bit.
Just on that one, the league table at the moment, the bottom three are Perth Glory, the current Perth Glory manager, and the two most recent Perth Glory managers prior to that.
Wow.
Stajic, Grilic. When they talk about boys and chalice, the league table gives a pretty clear indication. Anyway.
Melbourne victory 2, MacArthur 1, and to round it out was Western United 0, Melbourne City 1. Big news out of Melbourne City was, has it been confirmed, an ACL for Andrew Naboot went off injured, and also Marco Tilio off injured as well. So
dropping like flies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You got to feel bad for them, to be honest. Because Naboot, I think he was out with a long-term injury last season, and then Tilio, would have thought he would be wanting to have a really big season this time out, and depending on how bad his hamstring is, it's unfortunate for City.
Yeah, I thought it was a terrible game. Really, really bad game. Didn't enjoy that
Poor
at all.
crowd.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like 1,000 or something at the game?
It was bad. And then victory. I think it's a very good comeback from them after going a goal down. Arzani getting a penalty off the bench, and Piscopo's match winner. That's an absolute screamer. Fantastic goal, and that's a big result for victory. They started the season very, very well under Kaznorbaum. We did mention at the outset, a couple of bad results. Maybe he'd feel a bit of heat given where he's come from, but 7 points from a possible 9.
Yeah, they've picked it up. Yeah. They've certainly picked it up. Boys, good, bad, and ugly for the week. James, what was good?
The Kiwi Derby. I really enjoyed it as a spectacle. Great to see 26,000.
Kiwis are doing some heavy lifting at the moment.
Very much so. I think they're carrying the league in a sense. I think Auckland, in terms of expansion teams, fans have criticised MacArthur and West United when they were brought in. Is there a market for it? Well, there's clearly a market for Auckland, and their performances on the pitch and their fans off the pitch, they're certainly warranting their case of being an expansion team. Really good stuff.
Neil, what was good?
When the league's good, it's great in the sense of being entertaining. I thought the last half hour, Brisbane-Sydney, Western Sydney-Adelaide, the last half hour of victory MacArthur, and obviously the drama in the New Zealand derby. When it's good, it's very entertaining and really enjoyable.
I'm going to carry that and run with it because I'm just going to talk a little bit about the metrics of both leagues across the weekend. 31 goals in the A-League W across the weekend. Excellent. There was a stack of entertaining goals happening there. I'd like to see more crowds. I'd like to see more crowds.
They deserve more crowds when the games are that entertaining.
Matildas fans, where the bloody hell are you? You know, then there's stacked out Matildas crowds. And I know there's a difference. I'll get some hate mail about that, and I know there's a difference, but get down. Even if there's 10 or 15% of what you get at Matildas crowds.
Well, there could be the next Matilda that could be playing.
It's doing well.
They deserve support.
And also 1 million people tuning in over the first few weeks.
That's fantastic.
I mean, that's excellent to see. What was bad, James?
City's injuries. We've touched on it briefly, obviously, but the amount of players that they have out in terms of first teamers and and then to lose key players like Nabu and Tilio to what looks like pretty bad injuries, and obviously Tilio, when he came off, he was in tears. So I really do feel for them because it's unfortunate this early on in the season.
Neil?
Some of the crowds, and for the men's games, and I know I don't want to get bogged down in that, but Brisbane Friday night at Suncorp,
that's
dreadful. I thought Melbourne victory on a Sunday, 11,000 or so, terrible. And then that Western United Melbourne City game on the Monday, evening. I mean, if they're not going to play it at Ironbark Field or whatever it's called, putting it at Amy Park, dreadful. So I think we need to the league needs to be a little bit smarter with some of those games.
Aloisi, I think, made the point about policing being the reason why they had to move it to Amy Park, and I think when West United play Melbourne Victory, they're going to have to move it to Amy rather than playing it at Barnett, which is a bit disappointing, to be honest.
Well, yeah, you could probably send 10 police out and it'd be fine. But
I've put my bad down as just the Andrew Naboot ACL. We just need players like that in the league.
An ex-Glory player.
Well, for about
a wow signing
for those 2 weeks.
Yeah. Ugly, James?
Wanderers defending.
Yep.
Kamikaze.
Wasn't great.
Poor, and for the players that they have and the expectation that they have, and the fact that they also have 1 point from 9, I believe, they should be doing far better.
There was a good video with, I think it was virtually Stadge Cam, and it was just all the emotions. 90 minutes, 90 emotions, I think they called it. It was jumping around.
Poor bugger. On his birthday as well.
Yeah, there you go. Neil?
Goalkeeping. Some dreadful goalkeeping. Vidakovic punching across into his own net. He got a 2.8 on FootMob, which is the worst sports you'll ever see. Delianov getting out-jumped by Borello, which was terrible. We obviously had the Wellington keeper deciding to take on and play a hospital ball. Now they've been asking for that with the way they play around their 6-yard box, and then it is going to happen eventually. And there was one similar in the women's game as well for the Jets against Western Sydney. And some of the goalkeeping in the Glory game was very, very average as well. The City keeper just had a real aversion for staying anywhere near her line.
The wind helped.
And got done. But yeah, play any higher and you'd be in the opposition penalty box. But yeah, just some of the goalkeeping across the board, both in the games. I watched some of the women's stuff as well. Just bad. Maybe it was a bad week for a few of them, but yeah, there was some shockers in there.
Yeah, my ugly was Suncorp Stadium. Just
it's grim.
8,000. It's in a 52,000 seater.
Yeah,
move to Perry Park. As soon as they moved to Perry Park, the best. And that was one of our highest reactions of the week on that particular post about Suncorp Stadium. Neil, you've got what the fans think.
Yeah, you got some goods and bads. Goods, clean sheet for Glory. Clean sheet. First 2 goals for the Glory women. The bad, the 5 goals scored against the Glory women. We had Glory girls conceding 5 in the second half. Not enough opportunities in the final third for the men, and got away a little bit with the penalty decision. The VAR decision on Kanga was a terrible one. Bad IAM after a solid pre-season. He's fallen off heaps. Then we had 30% possession for the men, no good. Couldn't string more than 5 passes together. We have no structure and no identity. Empty Suncorp mentioned. And then the National Second Division. FA ballsing up the National Second Division. It's a stepping stone. It's the one format that the majority actively rallied against. James Johnson for promising to start it in 2023, not delivering. And Champions League format isn't a national second tier.
It's not what anyone wanted.
No.
It's crap. It's real. I know I've used that word numerous times already, but it is.
But we've got to go there somewhere. You can't have to start a home and away league with 8 teams.
No.
Yeah, but
it's not going to work. It's not going to get off the ground.
How's it going to money wise? That was the thing for me. Like,
I feel this is a bit of a litmus test. Obviously, it's don't get me wrong. It's not what anyone wanted, but I'm not going to poo-poo it just for the sake of poo-pooing it because
I'll be interested to see who does support it
or how it goes in general.
The clubs have all come out and said, "Look, we're happy to be involved. We want to be involved. It's not what we wanted, but we're grateful to be involved."
Just hope that
it's not what anyone
just got to
wanted.
hope that it kicks off because how many false starts have we had?
It has to. It has to. And this is what I think they're making sure of is that they can't afford for this not to work now.
Exactly.
I'll be interested to see if any WA team accepts the invitation to be part of it as the champions of WA.
Who's paying for that?
Exactly. That's my point.
If that's coming from Football Australia, then we're just going back to the NPL finals system,
right?
Aren't we?
Yeah. Exactly. So it's a bit of a hybrid between the NPL finals but it's not a national second division because there's no promotion and relegation, right? Yeah. So you're not. If you win this, you don't go to the A League.
Yeah.
So it's not promotion relegation. So I don't want to dress it up as that. It's a second tier of football, but it's not the second tier of the A League in any way.
But
it's not what we want.
It's not what we want, but it's a step. It's a half a step.
As long as there's progress and there is a step, as in this evolves and grows and becomes something. If this is just what we get for the next 10 years, count me
Chuck
out.
it in the
I
bin,
would just
yeah.
like to see more communication on what the plan is. All right, in 5 years' time, this is where we want to be.
Yeah.
In 10 years' time, this is where we want to be. In 15 years' time, this is where we want to be. And I go back to it, I refer to this all the time, but the Japanese,
Yeah, they got J1, J2, J3.
well, in 1992, they had one professional division.
Yeah.
And they set out for a 100-year plan, and they mapped it out. And they said, in 100 years, we want to win a World Cup. We want to have this many stages,
Yeah.
this many leagues.
We could do with that. We could do with a vision of some sort.
And we need that, because that's when the fans get behind and go, this is what we're building towards.
And if it's clearly communicated as well, rather than just having like an
Exactly.
FAQ
Talk
page.
to any business, any good business person,
Yeah.
they'll say that's the
And
way to do
I do
things.
think it'd be great to have a WA representative like Kingsway this year, who I believe that squad would more than hold its own against a lot of the East Coast teams. But I wouldn't expect them to pay for it, because there's so much involved in that. You're contracting players for longer than they normally would be. You've got all the flights, accommodation, time off work for those guys. All of that is a massive deal. And that's why no one applied for it in the first place, right? So if there's an opportunity to be part of it in this format, I'd support it. But yeah, it's not great so far.
Boys, we're going to take a bit of a break, because on the other side, we've got some very, very special guests. We're going to be speaking to the guys from the Deenys. We'll be back very, very soon for more here on the Far Post Perth podcast.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Welcome back to the Far Post Perth podcast. Big thank you to ID Athletic. We've got an absolute treat for you guys. We have got Gilly and Drewe in this section of the podcast. They are from the band The Deenys, just come back from a wicked tour of the UK and Ireland. Some great pictures on social media. Make sure you check them out at The Deenys on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure they're on Instagram as well. Gents, evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on, boys. You've come in, well, just to paint a bit of a picture. Drew's in his canary, is it canary yellow Chelsea strip? And we've got a
traffic warden.
There you go. High vis, mate. We are in WA in summertime, and Gilly's got his West Brom shirt on, so they are fully repping. But boys, what's been happening?
Well, we've just come back off tour. Like you said, UK and Ireland did that mid-year this year. Come home, and we've just been writing a lot.
Yeah,
and just kind of prepping for next year, really. But while we were over there, we got to record a single, which is coming out very soon. And yeah, we've just kind of been plugging that and playing gigs.
Who's the writer? Who's the creative one?
We all chip in, really.
It's a joint effort. I'd say me and James, Gilly, we bicker the most, us two, because maybe because we're passionate, but yeah, it's a group effort, I'd say.
It's a group effort. I mean, I think you do a lot of the lyrics and I do a lot of the melody, but then everyone, once you bring it to the table, it's like everyone puts their bit of seasoning on it, and then
Good stuff. Take us through a little bit of that process. I mean, you said that you mix it all up, but I mean, is it just that someone says, "I've got a wicked idea, guys. What do you think of this?" Is this really how it goes?
That's pretty much it. Someone will come to rehearsal, and then at some point during the night, go, "Oh, by the way, I came up with this in the week," and then play something. And if it's good, we kind of pack everything away for a minute and just go, let's just work on that. And then more often than not, we walk out with a new song.
Yeah, and sometimes like me and Shane, the bassist, we're normally, we write the lyrics, and we could have lyrics from about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Just sometimes we just note stuff down on our notes on our phone. And then say we have a song that we've been working on, use these lyrics. And if it doesn't like come to pass, we can just recycle the lyrics and see if it works on a different song, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
And you've got football music synonymous with each other, basically. I mean, my background growing up, it was that Britpop, Oasis, Blur, right up through the 90s into the 2000s. And bands have always just been that way. You go and see bands on stage. You've got Liam Gallagher always has his Man City flag. One of my favourite bands is the Gaslight Anthem. They're a big fan of a German hipster team, and they've always got a reference to that on stage, and it's just been intertwined so much. But do you see that influence in your writing, in playing gigs, what your stage presence, all of that? Do you draw from that?
Massively. I don't want to come across cliche, but like, we're all from the UK and Ireland originally, and we're all from like working class areas, and I feel that that's kind of embedded in growing up in the UK, Ireland, and in Australia, where our lives revolved around, or my parents, like football, music, and drinking.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's your Saturday, isn't it, really? When you think about
Literally
it, you have a few in the bar, go to the football, and then go to a gig afterwards.
Yeah.
It sums up your weekend, really. But I mean, I don't even think it's like I don't think we try to like make a link of it. It just sort of happens, doesn't it? I don't know. It's just like you said, it's just kind of.
We don't mean to come across cliche, but we are cliche, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
It's when you try not to be, then you are.
Yeah.
Boys, how would you describe your music for someone who hasn't kind of heard of it? Because I'm hearing all kinds in there. I'm hearing a little bit of the Wombats. I'm hearing a little bit of Kaiser Chiefs. I'm hearing a little bit of. I picked up on it earlier. Even a bit of something like a Lily Allen and things like that in some of your stuff. I mean, how do you guys describe it?
I'd say it's a bit eclectic. Like, we haven't really like nailed or honed in on like a sound necessarily as of yet. We're sort of starting to do that now, as we've been together for a couple of years. But it's just kind of whatever's good at the time we'll put out, and then if it sounds like something, then cool.
Yeah, like if we like it, we like it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like sometimes we all have different influences. Like James' favourite band is the Strokes. He really likes that kind of like New York sound. Yeah. Me personally, like I love the Smiths, like that more jangly sound. So yeah, again, it just at the time when someone has an idea, we just go with it, and if we like it, we like it. And
in terms of your audience, do you find that being so eclectic and having those different sounds that you tend to attract people from different backgrounds, different genres? Maybe they come for finding out what you're all about, basically, rather than just being, as you said, that cliche. You have a little bit more to you than just that single sound.
Yeah. I'd say there's a lot of people at our gigs who come and say like, I really love X and Y songs, and then like other people will say completely other, like different songs that they prefer, and it's like I don't know, everyone comes liking different stuff.
Yeah, I like that it's not like too one dimensional. Do you know what I mean? Like we're just known for like one or two songs, but the rest that no one really likes. Do you know what I mean? Like we could have someone who comes in who's like mid-50s, Gary from down the road, but then his teenage daughter will also like certain other songs.
Yeah.
But is that a conscious thing to not be typecast, I suppose, because lads in football shirts, UK background, and I hate Chelsea Dagger, but there's a real fear
that's a tune,
that everybody will think that all you're going to do is churn out rehashes of Chelsea Dagger.
Yeah, that's what we were, when we kind of come onto the scene a bit, like, and we play our first gigs down the Indie in Scarborough and whatnot, and we're all dressed in Fred Perry's and Adidas trainers, Gazelles and that. Yeah, literally. We were like, look, like I said, we're not trying to be cliche. It's just what we like. It's just the way it is. But we didn't want to be too, like, our songs be too kind of like Brexit. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's why if we have got other songs which appeal to different people. Like, because some songs are quite shoegazy, like indie pop, indie rock, a bit punky. So again, we haven't toned in on a sound directly, which we do plan to do. We are actually in the midst of writing a new EP, but again, it's just trying to appeal to different fan bases and build a fan base in the community.
Not just lads with dark fruits in the front row.
Well, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. There's quite a lot.
I do like the dark fruits.
Yeah. But there are a few lads with dark fruits, but then there's a few girls with WKDs.
Boys, I've got to ask the Deenys. Who's the Watford fan? Because that's the first thing that came to mind.
It actually doesn't. Right, so we get asked this quite a bit. So
it's spelled differently, though. Isn't it?
I know it is. But
yeah, there's no E in there. Yeah. So people say or ask, "Are you named after Troy Deeney?" Which I just want to clarify, we're definitely not. So there's no nothing to do with Watford. Basically, my mum is from a council estate in the UK. It's called the Old Dean.
Right.
So I named it after that.
Yeah.
But with Last Minute Winner, because the song essentially is about a girl, as a lot are, because the song's called Last Minute Winner, kind of relating to football, Shane, our bassist, was like, "Oh my god, we should chuck in the Deeny commentary because it was scored in the last minute and he's called Deeny." Yeah. And it was a bit of a light bulb moment, and we were just like, you know what, it will either work really well or it will be really cheesy. And when we heard it for the first time when we recorded it in Sydney with Dylan Adams, we were just like, mate, we were so chuffed with it, weren't we?
Remember we had to ask him a few times, like, we're definitely not going to get taken off all services for using that clip, are we? Like, because it's Sky Sports, and like, he was like, no.
Apparently,
it's like 6 seconds, calm down.
Yeah, apparently if it's less than a certain amount of seconds, you don't get done for.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we haven't had the letter yet. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully no one from Sky Sports is listening.
No one listens to this podcast anyway, boys, don't worry about it.
If you are, play it.
I've got to say, greatest finish to a football match that you could probably want, especially if you're on the
100%.
Being a Man City fan, of course you're going to say that.
There's no better. Football though in WA and Perth Glory and all of that, you had your tour and there was some photos of you boys in Glory shirts. And how important is that little connection to the WA football community as well?
Well, it's huge because we've played since. I moved here when I was about 12, and then played non-stop through till I was about 18. Don't play anymore, unfortunately, but yeah, that link to the football community is massive because it's like where most of our friends are from, isn't it?
Yeah,
in many respects, not most of, but a lot of.
We all played football here, really. Like I played for Quins and Wanneroo. Who did you play for?
It was Heathridge and then Joondalup City, which is the same club, but they changed names.
So we've all kind of grown up playing football here. We know what the community's about. And
if I'd known that I was Joondalup United now Kingsway, I wouldn't have let you through.
There would have been punch-ups. There would have been punch-ups.
Anyway, us northern suburbs, we're all friends up there.
Yeah, sure you are. Probably all related as well. It's. how do you guys gauge the Glory at the moment? Obviously, it's not a great patch.
It's not a good start to the season, is it?
No, but it's coming out of this new ownership and everything else, and it's just waiting for it to click, I think.
Yeah. It's good. I think the real positive, before the season started, I was just thinking, really cool that a lot of the WA boys are back. Like, obviously, you got Taggart, you got O'Neill, and you got Risdon back as well. All you need is Scotty Neville still playing? I was going to say, all you need is Scotty Neville, Jack Clisby, and all the boys. Like,
get the band back together.
Literally, yeah.
Anyway.
But I think...
Adam Taggart went to my school.
Oh, did he?
Fun fact.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. But I think the kit this season as well is bang on. Really nice kit this season.
We had a big kit discussion,
compared to last season.
I love the last three. I love them. I love this year's one. I love last year's one and the one before that. So
the skin tight one from last year.
Yeah.
You see Big John in it.
Posh. But the tour you did in the UK and Ireland and you had the Glory shirts on, did anyone wonder what the hell that was?
Yeah. We had a few people, because obviously people know that we live in Perth and we formed here. So a lot of people were like loving the fact that we were representing the Glory on tour. Because obviously A-League's quite big in the UK because they show it on TV there.
First thing in the morning, isn't it? You wake up and chuck it on.
Yeah.
Hangover.
Yeah, literally. And obviously there's been links.
Much Glory to help your hangover.
And there's been links with players like come over. Obviously Robbie Fowler was a massive one back in the day and stuff. So
Sturridge.
Yeah, Sturridge, yeah.
Yeah, that went well, didn't it?
Come for his paycheck and his holiday.
Andy Todd's got to be the best one.
Oh, mate.
Came through there, wasn't he?
Yeah,
probably my favourite player.
Keogh, a few from the
True. Yeah, Keogh got about.
Andy Todd was my favourite player.
Yeah, great player.
Great. Well, when I was... What year was he? 2009?
Yeah, it would have been around.
Yeah, I think I was only 15 or something, but I remember going to the games and 10 Andy Todds and that. It was, good times they were.
Yeah. No.
I definitely, I got a comment the one night, I think it was because we all took turns wearing the kits at different gigs, and I wore it in London for the first gig. And I think it was Geezer Harry, your mate, come up and said, "Oh, is that some sort of Sunday league?"
That's not his Christian name, by the way.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He goes, "Oh, is that some sort of Sunday league team?" And I was quite quick to correct him, but I think he was taking the mick. But yeah,
some days we think they're a Sunday league team, unfortunately. Where was the best place that you played, and where was the worst, boys?
Oh, no disrespect. I mean, look, it was all great.
I thought it's not fair to say the worst. I think everywhere's different.
Yeah, there is one place in mind, but I don't want to.
Very diplomatic.
Well, yeah. Look,
lovely people, but yeah, it was just a bit
great people. Salt of the earth.
If you're going to get on the Rolling Stone magazine, you got to say some controversial things.
Yeah,
now shoot.
Doncaster's a shithole. I'll say it.
So anyone from Donny who's listened to this, we do apologise, but yeah, it was a bit grim. But you know what?
I think it was
fun
a Sunday
night out
that we played as well, to be fair. So it was like a bit quieter.
Yeah.
But best gig.
Look, being biased, my favourite gig was London because I'm from near London, so a lot of my family and my friends turned up, and I'm guessing you're going to say Birmingham because you're from Birmingham.
Well, that was the two bookends. London started it off, and then Birmingham finished it off, and they were both sellouts, so it was like the perfect way to start and finish. But do you know what? Playing at King Tut's in Glasgow was a massive one because like
that's iconic.
That's where all
the bands have started out. Yeah,
because as you walk in, you walk up the stairs, and on the like staircase, they've got like each year or like year bracket 91, 92, and like the top 5 bands that played there, and you're reading it as you walk up, going, what am I doing here? Like you just couldn't, and then and just to play it was that was a bit surreal.
Yeah.
But favourite gig, I'll say Birmingham because it was my hometown.
Yeah, I'll say London because it's closest to my hometown.
No mention of Dublin, that's fine.
Well,
no, don't can't roll back on it now.
Do you know what?
If Shane was here, because Shane's from Skerry, he's our bassist.
That's the north side, that's okay.
Yeah, so he loved Dublin. So yeah.
Do you know what? I think that Dublin was class, but I think I got so steaming the night before that I was like I was sort of spaced out for I enjoyed the gig, but right up until about 20 minutes before going on, I was like, whoa.
I reckon that.
And then that last point just set me over the edge. And
one of the worst things about doing a trip like that is that, you've got a job to do, but you want to enjoy yourself as well. And it's like, where's that fine line?
Super
Mate,
hard.
you should have seen the state of that van we were in. Jesus. And the stench of it and all.
Yeah, it was pretty grim. But I mean, that Dublin one, we got like the early morning ferry over.
Yeah.
And then like, it was a bit of an ache to get into the Airbnb, and then like the next day with the sound, it was just all very quick, but all surrounded by like we were in Dublin and we're not going to not get on the sesh. So
I reckon that'd be the hardest thing overall.
it was pretty difficult.
Although, just to interrupt, Guinness's in around the Temple Bar area. You got to get a mortgage out or something, mate, because they were like, it was so expensive.
That's why real Irish people don't drink in the Temple Bar.
Oh, mate.
You don't catch us there.
No. I mean, we just didn't have the time to go outside of it really, because also Ubers were a nightmare. But but it was class. Like I've been there before, but it was just so good. I got shown a new bar that I think I had the best pint of Guinness in my life. It was a place called Grogan's Castle Pub. I don't know if anyone's.
Was that where Fontaine's drink?
Nah. It was some place that Paddy showed me, but it was just unreal.
Yeah, awesome. Guys, what's happening for the next little period? Of course, you guys have got a single, but also, you kind of let me in a little bit of something that you might be working towards, possibly for Perth Glory fans.
Yes, we are currently in talks with a friend, now a friend of ours actually, since we've met him, who works at the Glory, who is trying to get us to play at half-time at one of the games this season. Awesome. Yeah, we'd be absolutely buzzing with that, to be fair. So whether or not it's end of the season, midway through, we'll just be happy to do it. Just go out there and play a couple of tunes.
I'd love to see that. I'd love to see a little bit of a battle of the bands at halftime or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And just get a bit more into it. I know the Glory have done a fair bit of work into that halftime kind of entertainment now, and you've got the pyro going off, and there's a good bit of fun happening at halftime. But yeah, I'd love to see some local bands get involved in that. And boys, single launch coming up in a couple of weeks, 15th of November at the Indie Bar, Indian Ocean Hotel down there in Scarborough. Looking forward to it. Yeah,
we are actually. It's our last headline of the year. The song actually comes out this evening, so if anyone's listening, it comes out tonight at midnight.
So that is Wednesday night for whenever you're listening, yeah?
Yeah, Wednesday. Sorry, yeah,
Tuesday night.
Tuesday night for whenever you're listening.
And Indian Ocean Hotel, Friday 15th. Be a good night. It's always a great night down there. It's a great venue for...
of November, by the way.
Oh, yeah, November.
You don't know when anyone's listening to this.
That's true.
2024.
Who was the president?
2003, what? Great venue for local bands. So we're excited, and we're excited for a new song, and we're currently in the midst of writing a new EP. So we're hopefully going to record it with producer who we worked with last time, Dylan Adams, who's worked with DMAs in the past, Sticky Fingers, Skeggs as well. So yeah, we're excited.
Awesome. Boys, Drewe, Gilly, thanks very much. And, make sure you get behind the Deenys. They're good, homegrown lads, kind of, from Perth. And, great to see some WA local music shining brightly. Boys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
What a run! This could be the one! It's in! That's what it's all about! And when it comes comes to sports gear that helps you perform your best, ID Athletic has the winning formula. From grassroots clubs to elite athletes, ID Athletic provides high-quality sporting apparel, screen printing, embroidery, and made-to-order promotional products. Proud sponsors of the Far Post Perth and passionate supporters of WA community sport. Visit ID Athletic at 84 Howe Street, Osborne Park, or online at idathletic.com. ID Athletic. Build your identity.
Big thank you to Gilly and Drewe from the Deenys. And, really good chat there with the lads. And make sure you get behind them on the 15th at the Indian Ocean Hotel for that single launch. It's called A Girl Like You. It's certainly looking to be another belter from the Deenys. Right, boys, back to the football because we've got a big weekend to come and we'll get through this very, very quickly because otherwise we are going to run out of time. This weekend, we'll see Friday night, Western Sydney against Newcastle. Give me a tip round the table, James.
Newcastle 1-0 shock win.
Dour draw. Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to this Friday night.
Western Sydney to bounce back from me. Melbourne victory against Brisbane, part of a double header.
It should be a comfortable win, 3-1 for Melbourne victory.
Yeah, victory for me.
Yeah, I think victory. It's a Saturday game, maybe a better crowd as well for them. And as I said, it's a double header. So with the Melbourne Derby and the women's game, so maybe they'll get a little bit of a kick for that as well. And it'll be was it Amy Parker, I assume, for both games?
Yeah.
So there's no excuse really not to get out for people to get out to that one.
No, make a day of it. Adelaide against Western United. That is happening the second game on the Saturday, James.
I've got Adelaide winning 2-1.
Yeah, I think Adelaide, I was surprised that they beat Western Sydney, if I'm honest. Not necessarily in hindsight, given where Western Sydney have been, but Adelaide have looked pretty solid. They've scored some goals. Susceptible at the back, I think, still, but Western United don't really have the pace with Ibasuki as a 9 to really get in behind them, and I think that's where they will struggle with a lot of their games. As much as I like him, he hasn't got much playing off him.
Yeah.
That's where I think Western United will struggle a little bit.
Yeah, Adelaide for me at home. Central Coast, Wellington, James?
I'm going to be boring. Draw 1-1.
I think Wellington will bounce back. Really well coached. The Mariners played in Asia as well midweek, so they've had some extra minutes in the legs. And I think Wellington will be very keen, given the manner in which they lost the Derby. A bit of pride maybe dented as well. That they should. I think they'll bounce back because I didn't see anything from the Central Coast last week to be worried about.
No. Sydney MacArthur.
I think this will be the game of the round. I've got Sydney winning 3-2.
I think it has potential to be the game of the round, depending on who's playing player-wise, because I think those losses that we mentioned earlier of Costa and Lolly really blunt Sydney's attack quite a bit. And MacArthur, they need to bounce back from their loss. I agree with James that this is potential to be the game of the round, but watch it be 0-0.
Pity it's not the Saturday kind of primetime game because it's the Sydney's first game at home for the season.
It should be a blockbuster.
It could have been a real good kind of homecoming for the season, if you like. But anyway, it's what it is. And boys, Perth by how many against Melbourne City? No Tilio and no Naboot. Does Perth have a chance, James?
I think we win it by B's Dick 2-1.
A draw. Crap. I'm going to say crap again, but 5:45 on a Sunday kickoff time for the men.
Yeah, double header.
Yeah, I know that, but
not ideal.
Dreadful time for kids' school next day. I know we complain about Saturday kickoffs being late, but at least there's nothing to get up for the next morning.
Yeah.
This is not good. And I think the 3:00 game could be a hot one.
Yeah, well. Might be a bit warm. A-League W, round 2, Western United against Central Coast. Melbourne victory against Melbourne City. Melbourne Derby there, of course. Brisbane against Sydney on the Saturday. Wellington against Canberra on the Sunday. Western Sydney against Adelaide. And the final game, Perth against Newcastle. Got off to a good start, Perth, but just couldn't keep it up. And Melbourne City is always going to be one of those teams that could chase you down.
They're always going to be one of those teams, and it was always going to be interesting to see how Stephen would put his imprint on the team given the losses. That was going to be the interesting thing for me, and hopefully some of those players that were out with injury or with Casey Dumont with the AFLW, they can come back as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm not happy. Still not happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got. It'll be a tough game for them, I think, against Newcastle. I'd love to see them get up for a win. I don't think they will, but I think the fundamental focus until I get those good players back, or some of the more senior players, I should say, just embed the philosophy, keep trying to build a sense of cohesion amongst the team, because if they can maintain that start that they had against Melbourne City and look to see it out in future games, then who knows where they could finish during the season.
I think the game was basically last season in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Started amazingly, 2-0 up, and then completely fell off a cliff.
Perfect.
And shipped 5 goals, So, good signs, but then also very worrying signs as well in the second half.
Boys, let's finish it off. Bold predictions of the week. What are you expecting, James, as nonsense as it may be?
Taggart to score a worldie with just one shot all game.
Oh, it's pretty specific.
Yeah.
Just based on my thoughts on the goalkeeping last week, somebody to score from the halfway line in the men's.
Could be Taggart.
Someone just to tag, looking at the goalkeeping the last couple of weeks, there's some suspects out there that if I was an attacker, maybe, and we saw Piscopo's goal, for example, was from quite a way out. I know the goalkeeper wasn't off his line in that one, but I do think there's a few shaky customers out there who may be susceptible to a punt from 50 or 60 yards. So why not make it this week?
Well, I did have glory to crack 10K until you told me that the kickoff's at 5:45 because I thought it was about a 3 or 4 o'clock kickoff, which would have been perfect.
It's 3 or 4 o'clock on a Sunday and 30 degrees. I would not be going to that game. So 5:45 suits me better, but yeah.
Jesus.
Pasty over here in the melanoma stand. Come on.
It's not too good some days over that way, but yeah. Anyway, boys, thank you very much. Big thank you to Drewe and Gilly from the Deenys. Big thank you to ID Athletic, who have certainly supported us beautifully. And we certainly do appreciate their support. Make sure you grab the podcast, Spotify, Apple, now available on YouTube Music. And we'll see you next week for more here on the Far Post Perth podcast.